But now, actually, down to the question. Actually, there are so many BTOs to choose from, and sometimes when you got too many options, you don't know which one is the best to go for lah. So today I'm gonna try to answer the question: which BTO is the best, and which should you go for? My number one that I think will be the most popular will be Red Hill Peaks. So that's the project at Bukit Merah. My number two will be Tampines Central 8, and that's Tampines Nova. That's the Tampines project that's only 400 meters away from Tampines MRT. And the underrated one that I think that you all should take a look at is the other Tampines project, which is Tampines Bliss at Tampines Street 22. A little bit further from the MRT, but with a shorter waiting time of 1 year and 11 months, definitely something you should look at. Yeah. Hi everyone, Nat here. Yeah, so today what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be doing a review of the BTOs for the February BTO launch. Yeah, so I think quite a lot of us have been looking forward to this, and finally today HDB made the announcement at around 12 noon that the exercise is open. So the exercise is open for around 8 days. Today is the 4th of Feb. It will last all the way until the 11th of Feb. So we do have some time for us to think about and consider what we want to do and which are the best BTOs. Okay, so today I think I have a few objectives. There are three main objectives that I'm going to go through. So the first one is, of course, what are the main details of this BTO launch in Feb, like how many units are being launched, is there a sale of balance, and where are the areas. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. The second thing is that I'm going to be discussing which plots I think are potentially the most popular, and which in my opinion are also good for value. Alright, so I think that might be helpful. And then the last thing that I would like to go through is, of course, also certain important need to knows and considerations with regards to BTO exercise lah. Yeah, so sometimes if you choose a BTO, you're not so sure, if I choose really then I never get, then how? Or if I choose to give up, then how? Are there certain implications? Of course, so I think it's good for us to know before we go into this BTO exercise. Alright, so that's where we're going to move towards, and let me just get started. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is actually which areas are being offered. Yeah, so for this particular launch in February, there are 4 main areas that are being offered. So firstly will be Tampines, we have 2 plots, Sembawang, we have 2 plots, at Bukit Merah or Red Hill we have 1 plot, and we have 1 more plot at Kim Kiat Crest, which is actually at Toa Payoh. So a total of 6 projects, and over these 6 projects we have almost 4,700 units across the different unit types. So that's from 2 room, 3 room, 4 room, and even 5 room. Okay, and the interesting thing about this particular BTO batch is that there are also sale of balance flats, and how many are there in total? About around 4,320 flats are being offered concurrently to the BTO exercise. In terms of where, actually it's all over Singapore, because from all of the previous BTO launches and units that have come up, these all get added into the sale of balance flat pool, which you can also choose to ballot for. Alright, so that's where we're at. Okay, and next is actually what are the types of units that are being offered at each of the different areas. Let me just go through quickly. So at Bukit Merah, you have a 2 room, 3 room, and 4 room. At Sembawang, actually you have 2 room all the way to 5 rooms. So I think that is something quite exciting. It's the only project this BTO series that has a 5 room. Okay, we have at Tampines we have 2 room, 3 room, and 4 room. And at Toa Payoh we have 2 room, 3 room, and 4 room. Yeah, so actually quite a good spread over the area. Alright. I think something that some people might also want to consider is actually which areas will be offered in the future in the broad scheme of things. So, in a sense, HDB will have 3 exercises throughout the year for BTOs, and they will generally target different areas. But the good thing about Singapore government is that they already tell us which are the areas that are going to come up. Okay, so actually which are the areas that are being offered. These include areas around the country such as Ang Mo Kio, Bukit Merah, Sembawang, Toa Payoh, Tampines, Woodlands, and Yishun. So, but in this February launch, right, we are covering only 4 areas, so Tampines, Sembawang, Bukit Merah and Toa Payoh. In the upcoming launches, it's likely that they will cover areas like Toa Payoh, Ang Mo Kio, Woodlands, Yishun, Sembawang and Bukit Merah. Of course, those that have come up in this launch is less likely to come up in future launches, but there's still a chance. Okay, so in case you're considering, you say maybe I don't like the BTOs on offer on this exercise, what's coming up in the future? A good chance that you might see areas in Ang Mo Kio, Yishun and Woodlands, because these haven't been covered yet. Yeah, okay, so that's just for us to consider. Next, I think something that's quite exciting for this particular BTO is the presence of shorter waiting time flats. So these are called SWT flats. They're called shorter waiting time flats because they are in the process of building already, right? I think the government recognizes that one of the bigger pain points for BTOs is that there's quite a long construction period time and a waiting time. So for example, if typically how long are we looking at? Maybe 4 years, 5 years. If you remember in COVID period, it used to be like 6 years. And so let's say if I'm 30 or 31 this year, if I were to apply in this particular BTO exercise, in normalcy, maybe I will take around 6 months to put in a choice for my unit, etc. And then 4 years from there is the construction period. And so by the time I move into my flat, I'm already 35, right? The presence of these shorter waiting time flats actually give the buyers a chance to move in earlier, a bit like some of us will choose to go for sale of balance flats because of shorter waiting time, right? And now with this shorter waiting time flats, this gives you an additional option to get flats that are a bit better, okay, in terms of waiting time. In terms of how short, there are 4 particular projects out of the 6 that are shorter waiting time projects, which is I would say a majority. Okay, your waiting time is as short as 1 month, 11 months, 1 year and 11 months. So that's like super duper short. That's like 2 years. Very very short waiting time. And so Tampines Bliss is a 1 year 11 months waiting time. Tampines Nova, the other project, is 2 years 8 months. Sembawang Jack is 2 years 8 months, and then King Cat Crest, which is at Toa Payoh, is 3 years and 1 month. So these are the shorter waiting time flats that are on that form your options, and I think that it's something that you need to take consideration when you choose which BTO to go for. Okay. Now, okay, that is like the general pointers that we wanted to talk about this particular BTO launch. What's special? But now, actually, down to the question. Actually, there are so many BTOs to choose from, and sometimes when you got too many options, you don't know which one is the best to go for lah. So today I'm going to try to answer the question, which BTO is the best and which should you go for? Okay, so to be fair, I think it's important for me to share the criteria for that we are going to be going through in terms of determining which is the best. I like to say that all BTOs are good BTOs, you know, like when the government says that all schools are good schools. I think in general, for sure, there will be BTOs that are suitable for some with specific requirements, right? But I think just to be fair, I wanted to judge based on certain objective criteria. So let me share with you. So the first one will definitely be price. I think price is quite important. It forms your affordability. And but I wanted to go one step further, which is to compare maybe the relative price, because something can be like, you know, price-wise you can be looking at maybe 200k, 300k, 400k, and then you will say, oh, you know, the 400k one is obviously more expensive than 200k one, then of course the cheaper one is better lah. True, but I think we also need to take it in perspective of relative value. What do I mean by that? I think most Singaporeans actually look at their houses not only as housing, so it's not just affordability thing, but it's also an asset, right? One of the good things about buying property in Singapore is that generally you buy already, it should grow in the future, especially if you buy a subsidized flat, and then that gives you a certain like capital appreciation, which is helpful for you. So I think it's helpful for us to look at, if you buy something at, even if you buy something more expensive at 500k, if you can sell it for, let's say, 1 million in the future, and you appreciate 500k versus you buy something at 200k and then in the future you only can sell for 400k, 200k appreciation, then maybe you might want to go for something more expensive because that can give you a bit more appreciation lah. Yeah, so that's where I'm coming from. So the first two criteria is price. The second one is price compared to surroundings, which is your relative value. The next 2 pointers are livability factors. So the first one would be like distance to MRT, and the second one is like distance to amenity. So these are things like your malls, your sports centers, etc. Because even for myself, like if I were to choose a place, I want it to be since I'm living there for a while, I want there to be amenities around me. Like I like to play sports, so I'll definitely go for something that is close to a sports facility, right? I think that will give me like quite a lot of value add. Yeah, so the next one that we are gonna talk about, or the other factors that we'll think about are, of course, the number of units being offered, the waiting time, which we already kind of discussed. Then the next one is a bit more complex, like standard, plus, and prime, like the classifications and what that means for you. And the last one is, of course, the types of units being offered, because maybe you want a bigger space, then you want 5 room, then of course you will go for a certain project which the other projects don't have lah. Yeah, okay, so that is the judging criteria. Okay, so just in terms of price analysis, I think that HDB has given a very helpful table. Let me just, I'm putting it up here for us to take a look. Okay, so you will see that they have shown you what is the expected selling price, the starting from selling price of the flats on offer. Okay, so just in terms of looking at it and comparing, you will see that they have shown you what is the expected selling price, the starting from selling price of the flats on offer. Okay, so just in terms of looking at it and comparing side by side, you will see that of course the Sembawang flats are a bit cheaper. Okay, and then you'll probably move towards the Tampines flats, which is I would say it's a mature estate, but it's further out. So then that's the next in the price increment. And then you go to Toa Payoh. I think Toa Payoh is super central, but this particular project is slightly further away from the MRT. So I think price wise will be high, but also maybe a bit more tapered. And then the last one is Bukit Merah, which is Redhill. I mean, Redhill has typically been super popular, and the good thing is that this Redhill project is also super close to MRT, so I think it will be quite popular lah. And that's why actually the government has slammed a prime type of housing on the Bukit Merah or Redhill peaks, and only a plus on the Toa Payoh and one of the Tampines projects. Okay, so we'll discuss that a little bit more. In terms of like relative price, you will see that under the last column, they also put the transacted prices of resale flats nearby. So that gives you an indicative of sorts, right? That if you buy the flat here today on this column, the selling price, right, excluding grants, at let's say I'm looking at Tampines Nova. So let's say you buy at 109 for the 4-room flat, you're buying at 459k or 500k on average. Then in the future, you can sell from 738 to 828k. That is the transacted prices of resale flats nearby, and it will also basically mean that how much appreciation you're looking at, maybe 200 plus to 300k. So that's not bad. But one thing that I wanted to do was that I'm not so sure whether or not these like transacted prices of resale flats nearby, like how HB looks at it. So I went to look at it myself. Of course, I'm a property agent, right? So I went to look at it myself and look at like the resale transactions recently, and tried to look at something that is as similar to the development characteristics as possible. So for example, right, there are certain in Tampines, right, there's one project that is much closer to the MRT and one project that is further from the MRT. So of course your comparables will be slightly different. If you can find a flat that is close to the MRT and around like new flat that's close to the MRT, then I can compare it to the one that's close to that's coming up that's close to the MRT. And if there's one that is further away, then of course I'll compare that to the one that is further away lah. Yeah, and the important thing that I think is that firstly I want to say HDB did a good job in terms of this indicative price of transacted resale flats nearby. It's very close to what I found. Later I'll show you this Excel, right, and go through like how I look at the comparables. But essentially, I did one important thing, which is that sometimes near to these new developments that are coming out, right, there are no new flats that are surrounding them, right? It's a new plot, and then the new flats are like not comparable. They are too far away. So one thing that sometimes we need to adjust for is how old the flats are, because there are certain flats that will surround these new developments that are maybe like 70 years remaining, but when you get the flat, right, it's 99 years ma. So you kind of need to restore it back to 95 or 99 years to get that indicative of actually what is the worth of this property, if you understand. Yeah, so I adjusted for that essentially around like 1% per year in terms of price. So let's say if it's 20 years older than like the remaining list is 75 years, right? I adjust 20% from the resale price to what the price would be today. Yeah, and I think that was quite helpful, and then that made it very close to what HB put out here in terms of prices now. So I think that is very, very helpful. Just use HB's this last column as an indicator, but if you want something even more accurate, then of course you can look at the Excel, the table that I'm going to put up here. I already done the research. You're welcome. Just take a look and then just double check the facts. Yeah. Okay, so that's quite helpful. Okay. So next would be location analysis. So I told you we're looking at price, then of course like livability. So let's look at the location analysis. Okay, starting with Sembawang. Okay, so Sembawang has two plots that are being launched at this time. So one is called Sembawang Deck and the other is called Sembawang Voyage. Okay, so for the two Sembawang plots are basically really close to each other. So in terms of location, not much difference. So the first one is distance to MRT. This project in Sembawang, I would say that one of the things is that it's a little bit far from MRT. How far are we talking about? Around 1,400 meters, which would be like a 15 minutes or 17 minutes walk, depending on how fast you walk. Of course, there are buses. So there are buses that service you all the way to Sembawang MRT. You probably wouldn't walk, but just for fair comparison, I'm just gonna put this distance out lah. Okay, so and then your nearest mall for these two plots is Sun Plaza, which is also at Sembawang MRT. And in terms of like general amenities around, if you've ever been to Sembawang area, something that I just sold a place at Sembawang recently, executive apartment. Something that really caught my eye when I went to Sembawang area was Bukit Merah, right? So that is your community area, a newly created community area to service Sembawang area. And wow, I have to say Bukit Merah is like super nice. It's super big. It's like there's a hawker center there, there's a sports center there, there's polyclinic there, there's gym there, you know, like there's even a stadium there. So I mean, if I were to live at Sembawang, one of the big draw points for me, right, is that wow, Bukit Merah is just there. And recently, like I also been playing pickleball, so there's also like people playing pickleball there. So I think that's quite exciting. That's one of the big draws for Sembawang area in terms of like amenities lah. Okay, for this particular plot that is slightly further away, the 1,400 meters away one, right? In terms of the immediate facilities at the void deck, you have a preschool lah. And the other plot is slightly nearer, maybe just 200 meters nearer, and the same like general amenities are around, but this one has a mini mart, has shops and preschool and a coffee shop just below as well. So I think that forms a little bit of difference between the two, but generally around the same. Okay, so next will be the two Tampines plots. Okay, I'll start with the first Tampines plot, which is the standard one. It's a bit further away. Okay, so this plot, right, is around 1,700 meters away from Tampines MRT. In fact, it's almost the same distance from Tampines MRT or Tampines West MRT, but you would probably take a straight bus from where your house is to Tampines West MRT. Might be a bit closer lah. Yeah, and in terms of the nearest malls, of course, one of the great... Oops, Siri just came out. Yeah, but in terms of the nearest malls, we're looking at Tampines 1, Tampines Mall and Century 1. So you have quite a good choice of malls, even though it's a bit further away. You still have to go into Tampines Central area to access them. Okay, but just below your block you would have a preschool and a coffee shop, and that's quite helpful already. Okay, now to the other Tampines plot. This Tampines plot, wow, I think it's going to be like super popular because it's only 400 meters. Listen up, there is only 400 meters away from Tampines MRT and the Tampines Town Centre. Yeah, so I think that's like a huge draw. And the same thing, you're like basically 400 meters away from Tampines 1, Tampines Mall, Century 1, and you're also just opposite like our Tampines Hub, which is great. Yeah, so if you ever live or you stay around the Tampines area, you know like this like Tampines Central area is like super bustling, and it's super convenient lah. Basically, I think that is the biggest draw point of this particular BTO. And the thing is that it also sits on the downtown line. Tampines, one of the reasons why Tampines is so awesome or well sought after is because it also has downtown line, and that brings you to the CBD quite quickly lah. So I think this plot in terms of amenities, very good. Location, steady. Okay, next would be this Toa Payoh plot. So the Toa Payoh plot, when you hear Toa Payoh, you're like, wow, Toa Payoh, $1 million HDB, right? Okay, so I'll say that, and you would expect this Toa Payoh plot to be under prime, okay? But this Toa Payoh plot is plus. One of the reasons is because it's actually 1,900 meters or so away from Toa Payoh MRT. So once again, you probably need to take a bus to Toa Payoh MRT, and it's a bit of a distance. Maybe like a 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes by bus to Toa Payoh MRT before you take the MRT from there. Yeah, so that's one of the considerations. And it also doesn't really have a mall that is too nearby. Your nearest mall is still probably like your Toa Payoh Central area, which is where HDB Hub is. Okay, the good thing is that actually what's happening in the Toa Payoh area to be for prospective buyers to look forward to. Once again, I'm big on sports lah, but there's the Toa Payoh Regional Sports Centre that's coming up that will be similar to Bukit Merah, but it's still under construction. But by the time you move into your BTO, likely actually the Regional Sports Hub or the Regional Centre, Sports Centre in Toa Payoh will already be ready. So when you move into your BTO, basically that sports centre will be brand new, and then you have the benefit of that. Of course, you still need to travel a little bit, but so nearby and new, I think that's like awesome. Okay, and not to worry, because just below your block there's a preschool, there's coffee shops, and there are multiple like shop or commercial HB shops that are available. These often get filled up by your haircut lah, your laundromat lah, sometimes clinics lah. So these, you have a small little enclave there that is very helpful for you lah. So this is in terms of Toa Payoh. And then lastly, we have the Bukit Merah plot. So this is the only prime plot this BTO launch. And it's prime for a reason. Of course, Bukit Merah and Red Hill is already a prime area, but this plot, right, I think will be the most popular plot. It's actually only, once again, 400 or 500 meters away from Red Hill MRT. So in terms of convenience, super convenient, and you're already central. So Red Hill is already central, and you're only 400 500 meters away from MRT. So I think it's a great location. All of that being said, actually your nearest mall is Tiong Bahru Plaza, which is actually the next MRT station. So you don't really have that many malls nearby. But if you know anybody who stays in Red Hill, or if you stay in Red Hill, actually people don't really need the mall, because all around them is like, it's already a mature estate, meaning this plot in particular is just right next to Red Hill Market. There are so many good coffee shops around, and there are small shops around as well, which actually already service you quite well. So I think this will be quite a good place in terms of amenities and locations. Once again, I saying for a third time, but I like sports. I play a lot of pickleball and football and etc. So actually, Delta Sports Centre is also just there. I think it's a super popular area for sports. So Red Hill in terms of amenities, great. Okay, and just below your block, you also have a preschool and a residence network centre. So your residence network centre, I'll say maybe it's more relevant for the older folks and those people who are buying 3-room or 2-room flexi. Those downsizers are like you maybe now stay in a 5-room, or you're staying in a different location, and now you want to move to a more central location and right size so that you unlock a capital. Then this resident network center might be helpful, because that usually forms an area where you can form a community with the people who are there. and live life together, right? So I think that's quite exciting. Okay, so this wraps up the whole like location analysis for these six different projects. Okay, so I hope that is quite helpful. In terms of what I think are the two most popular will be the two most popular projects. Off the top of my head, I would say the two that are close to MRT. I would say that the Tampines 8 one, the one that is at Tampines Central, location is just great. So the only thing is that there are not that many units for offer there. Okay, and the second one is Bukit Merah. Okay, so Bukit Merah Red Hill. This one also super close to MRT. So I think these two will be your most popular plots. Good chance that maybe Bukit Merah one will be slightly more popular than the Tampines one. Okay, so that is my thoughts. But in terms of overall relative value, if you look at the Excel or if you look at that chart that KC has put up in terms of like the price that you're going to buy versus the future selling price, after you account, especially after you account for the clawback in terms of the standard plus and prime flats, actually the subsidy amount or the amount that you are going to appreciate capitally is around the same. It's not too different across the projects. In fact, I might say that Sembawang, even though it might be slightly less popular, it might give you the highest bang for buck in terms of capital appreciation. So sometimes people have the notion, hey, I buy Central, I confirm grow more than the periphery areas. But when we look at the numbers here, actually might not be the case, right? And so if you are thinking like, hey, I have a limited budget, or I really like Sembawang, but I FOMO a bit to go and stay at like the prime area because I also want like to earn a lot of money. Actually, now that the government has put in this plus prime, standard plus prime and clawback feature, right? It has even the playing field quite a bit in terms of future resale value and the amount of capital appreciation you get. So that is something that you want to take into account and not let it jam you when you are trying to choose the right BTO for yourself. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Okay, so then the last point that I'm going to be talking about is opportunity cost considerations. So the first one is actually your standard plus prime classifications and what that means for you. I won't go into details in terms too much detail. Okay, I won't go into too much detail, but essentially for this particular BTO exercise, the flats that are under the plus scheme, when you sell, right, there will be a 6% clawback on the sale price. So I just give you an example. If you sell at, let's say, 800k in the future, then you will claw back 6%. 6% is 48k that the government will claw back from your sale price. Okay, so whatever you appreciate, then they will take this 6% away. And let's say for a prime flat, the prime flats on offer here, the only one which is Bukit Merah, let's say you sell at 1 mil, just for easy calculations, 1 mil in the future, it's a 12% clawback. 12%. So previously, in previous iterations of this standard plus and prime, it was maybe 6 to 8% for plus and then 9% for prime. This particular project is 12%, 12% for your subsidy recovery, which means that if you sell at 1 mil, 120k, the government will claw back from your sale proceeds. Yeah, so that really evens the playing field if you see across how much you think you'll appreciate, etc. And so what the government is trying to communicate in a sense is that, hey, doesn't mean you buy these prime areas now, you are lottery effect, right? They want to cancel out the lottery effect. They no doubt it's a good area, but we're going to level the playing field. You still appreciate, it's not like you lose money, but you won't appreciate significantly a lot more than the other projects on offer. Okay, so that is the clear messaging from the government that we are hearing. Okay, so the next one is just in terms of strategy. Okay, in terms of, this is a bonus in terms of strategy for those people going for BTO and thinking about it. One thing you need to consider is how many flats are being offered in each of these enclaves. One technicality for BTO selection, right, is that you can select townships. You only can select one township. So there are 6 projects being offered, right, for this BTO selection, but there are actually only 4 townships that are being offered. So because Tampines has 2 and Sembawang has 2, and then Bukit Merah has 1, Toa Payoh has 1. One benefit or one strategy you might want to consider is that if you do choose like Tampines, for example, as a township, right, basically you will be able to choose from 2 projects, or rather you have to choose from 2 projects, meaning that even though one project only has maybe 150 units, the other project got 800 units, you will combine together and then you have 950 units on offer at Tampines. Okay, so in a sense you just need to be a bit careful here, because if you're only targeting the Tampines, like the more popular location or the better location, right, the thing is that if you get a like ballot number of 600, right, for example, right, in this scenario, right, you got 850 units together. If you got a ballot number of 600, right, you will still be, in a sense, forced to choose a unit. But it could very well be that the first 150 people confirm already take the more central location, right? And then you have to choose from the other location lah. Yeah, so you just want to be careful in terms of that for planning, okay? Like, and don't say like, wow, you know, I'm only going for this. If I don't get it, then I don't take. There are certain like repercussions for not taking lah, because you'll be locked out from your first timer opportunities and grants. Yeah, so that can be a bit painful. I had a few clients previously who had that happen to them, and then they eventually went to resale, and even when going for resale, they if they were eligible for grants, when you lose your first timer status, you lose your first timer grants as well, and they have to wait like 1 year for these first timer grants to be restored before they can get grants, right? So I think this is an important consideration. Okay, so that being said, combined in Tampines, how many flats are being offered? We're looking at a total of 530 flats, of which 330 are your 4-room, 80 are your 3-room, and 120 2-room flexi. Okay, in Sembawang, right, you have a total of 1,920 flats for offer. So actually, if you say, hey, I don't mind location one, in terms of I don't mind Sembawang, then you go for Sembawang flats. Firstly is typically not super oversubscribed, and you got so many flats there, a good chance you'll get a flat. And Sembawang actually quite decent location also lah. I mean, in terms of, I told you Bukit Merah is there, and you're also quite close to JB. And the more important thing is resale value. Is there a resale value, and are you getting a good price lah? Yeah, but of course lifestyle also lah. I mean, some people prefer to stay more central, then you don't like Sembawang, that's fine, right? Yeah, so then in terms of Bukit Merah, surprisingly there are 1,130 units for offer, and of that 780 are 4-room flats, 80 are your 3-room flats, and 270 are your 2-room flats. So that actually gives you another like big bulk of like 4-room flats for offer. Okay, so you might want to consider that. Sorry, that's King Kiat Crest. That King Kiat Crest is at Toa Payoh. Okay, and then lastly is at Red Hill Peaks. Red Hill Peaks is the Bukit Merah one. Another 1,040 units are being offered there, of which 590 are 4-room flats, 90 are 3-room flats, and 360 are 2-room flexi. Yeah, so just in terms of this, I would say that you just want to take this into consideration. If you want to be sure to secure a BTO flat and you don't mind, then go for Sembawang, right? I think that's quite good. And let's say if you're looking at 2-room flexi, maybe you want to go for Bukit Merah, because there are 360 units for offer there. Yeah, so that's quite a lot, and it's in quite a decent location near to the MRT, etc. I think the older folks or the singles will prefer these 2-room locations. Okay, yeah. Okay, so actually, thanks for listening to my analysis. In terms of my thoughts and my choices, as I mentioned, if I were to recap everything, the 2 projects that I think will have the best results, or will be the most popular, are definitely your Bukit Merah, or Redhill peaks, as well as your Tampines Central projects. Yeah, so if you're going for those projects, good luck. Just know that there will be a lot of people competing with you. Okay, so you need to have a contingency plan. Like if you don't get it, are you okay to give up, and what are the implications lah? Okay, so just tread wisely, but I wish you all the best for this. I also think that in terms of livability, those are probably give you a good bang for buck. But once again, if I may reiterate, in terms of real capital appreciation across the projects, you're quite similar. So don't let that be a big push off. In fact, if you want to go for pure capital appreciation in a sense and not be locked in on a 10-year minimum occupation period, going for your standard flats actually gives you a great chance, because you only need to MOP for 5 years. And I tell you, for example, the Tampines plot that is okay. One special bonus, the one that I think will be underrated, will be your second Tampines plot. Okay, reason why I think it's super underrated is because, of course, it's not as close to Tampines Central as the other plot, but it's only 1 year and 11 months waiting time after you select the flat. Okay, and it's 5-year MOP, so actually you get a very a short waiting time and a short MOP, which gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of your options. You 5-year MOP, after your 5-year MOP, you sell, you got no clawback, no nothing, and then in a sense you want to move to a different location, you want to upgrade 5-room, or you want to apply for another BTO, you can. Yeah, but our friends at the 10-year MOP will be in a sense committed for another 10 years, and depending on where also, of course there are shorter waiting time flats, but not as short as the 1 year 11 months one, right? Yeah, so I think that's my bonus. 1, 2, 3 in terms of locations to choose will be Bukit Merah, Redhill, the Tampines Central, the more central plot, and then your second Tampines plot. I think that is your underdog that you want to give additional consideration. Yeah. Okay, so I hope that today's video is exciting for you all, and that this opinion is quite helpful for you. Of course, slightly long format, forgive me, but I hope that it is helpful for you. And if you have any questions or thoughts and feedback, also do let me know. I'll be happy to hear from you and see what else to share with you all about. But yeah, I look forward to giving more value to you all, and just sharing more with you all about the whole HDB and BTO process. Yeah, so thanks.